and
Okay,
then I'll let you take it away, Gio.
great. I'll need you to share, allow me to share. Okay.
Oh, sure.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gio Argentati. I'm a software engineer and artist living in Raleigh. And I am very passionate about solar energy. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story and why I think this is relevant today. Let's see if I can share my, I can't share yet.
No, just I'm still working on this. Oh, here we go.
Yay. Okay. Share. Okay. F5. Where is it? All right. Can everyone see my my screen here?
Yes, and if
Yes.
you double click, it gets twice as big.
Okay. There we are. Okay, great. All right. So the title of this is Surviving the Global Energy Crisis on Sunlight. And so if anyone has any questions while I'm going through this, please interrupt me or post something in the chat, and I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so 2026 is really the perfect storm. We have all these different threats disrupting our energy landscape. We have all this geopolitical chaos going on, the Strait of Hormuz closure, um, the Russia-Ukraine war is disrupting Russian oil, and that has an impact on global oil prices. AI is driving hyperscale data center demand. And we are really kind of at the mercy of a lot of monopolies, in terms of our energy, both electrical and fossil fuels. And also the incentives for EVs and solar have been phased out, which is also definitely a factor. So anyway, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my story. Okay. So this is the house that I grew up in. All right. It's a very modest house. My family was pretty, we didn't have a lot of money. I grew up in central Massachusetts, and this room upstairs, this was my room. It was a converted attic. Okay. This house was not well insulated. It was built in like 1955, I think. And that my room was very cold in winter and warm in summer. Okay. I could see my breath sometimes in winter. And in summertime, I would sometimes have heat-induced nightmares. Okay. Because the room was so hot. So anyway, this is the house I grew up in. And I really, I just thought it was normal for people to suffer. So I didn't know any better when I was a kid. And when I got into high school, I discovered this amazing book in my high school library, and it's called the Passive Solar Energy Book. And I was just completely captivated by this book, and I had it checked out perpetually. I kept renewing it and just reading it and reading it. And basically, what it taught me was you don't have to live this way. uh, so I learned about how to orient a building to take advantage of the sun. I learned about how to shade windows so that the building doesn't overheat in the summertime. I learned about thermal mass, which is how you can uh, deal with how you can store the heat that you gain from the sun. I also learned about passive ventilation and the importance of insulation. So this was a really important book for me. And so I wanted to talk just briefly about the difference between passive solar and active solar. All right. So passive solar is just collecting solar energy using your windows, just by designing the building intelligently. Okay. So usually a passive solar building will have many south-facing windows, it will have some sort of thermal mass. Okay, so see this concrete floor here? So the sun shines through the windows and it heats up that floor. So this floor will store heat. It also will keep the building from overheating. Okay, so if this building did not have a concrete floor and it had all these south-facing windows, it could very easily overheat. Okay, so it's really important to have the right balance between uh, south-facing glazing and thermal mass. Um, so that's what oh, another really important thing are overhangs. Okay, see this overhang over this window? So remember, the sun is higher in the sky in the summertime than it is in the wintertime. All right. And so you can use an overhang if you make it just the right width so that it will completely shade the windows in the summertime, but admit full sun in winter. Okay, so that's really key. And I'll talk about that more later. Oh yeah, so this up here in the corner is showing you what I'm talking about. See, the sun is high in the sky, and so none of the sun gets into the house because of that overhang, all right? But in the wintertime, it's low and all the sun can come in.
So do you have to remove that overhang in the winter or what?
No,
Okay.
no.
But the picture looks like it.
So it works all by itself. That's the beautiful thing about it, Ruth. Okay. So because the sun, over the course of the year, the sun, the altitude of the sun becomes less and less as we approach the winter solstice. Okay. And because of that, you get more and more penetration into the house. And so if you have the overhang designed properly, you never have to like take it down. Okay.
So is it for a specific, because you have on here large south-facing windows. So is it the south-facing windows only or overhangs
Yes. Oh,
all?
these are excellent questions, Ruth. Yes. Okay. So first of all, in a passive solar house, most of the windows are concentrated on the south-facing side of the house. All right. Overhangs only work on the south side of the house. Okay. Um, they don't work anywhere near as well on the east and west facing sides of the house, and you don't need them on the north side of the house. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So active solar are what you normally think of as solar, okay? Photovoltaics, maybe a solar hot water heater, inverters and batteries. Some people heat water and uh, they they use it for heating pools and for sometimes they'll use it in a radiant floor where they circulate hot water through a concrete slab. Sometimes they'll use it for that. So that's active solar. So active solar requires more infrastructure. And my house has both. And I love the passive solar because it works all by itself. And the active solar is also great because it lowers, I can charge my car with my solar panels, and I can sell power back to the power company. And so this has many advantages as well. Okay. So I learned all this great stuff and then I promptly forgot about it when we were buying our first house. Okay. Which was really stupid, but we moved here to Raleigh in 1990 and we had been living in a lousy apartment and we just wanted a house. And so we bought this house and it was an okay house, or at least we thought so. But then we started getting really high electric bills. And so then I started remembering the book that had made such an impression on me in high school. And this house was like the complete antithesis of everything that that book suggested you do. Okay. So it had no south-facing windows whatsoever, none. Most of the windows faced due west, which caused it to overheat in the summertime. Um, yeah, it was not well insulated. And after 7 years of living in this house, I had it. We had both had it, because it just wasn't pleasant. And so I decided that we should build, or we decide, my wife and I decide that we should build a passive solar house. And so in 1997, we bought a lot, and the lot was a pasture. It had been farmland. It was pasture. There was not a single tree on the lot. And I love trees, okay? But when you're building a solar home, you need solar access, and you don't want trees blocking you. So that was important. So we found a lot that had no trees. I attended a passive solar home workshop offered by NC State, which was really, really good. And it was a really good refresher. And I learned things. The name of the course was Building a Passive Solar Home in North Carolina. So it had a lot of North Carolina specific information. Yeah. So then after that, I started drawing house plan sketches. I'm artistic, and so I drew a lot of sketches. And I had some architectural drafting in high school, and so I taught myself how to use a CAD package, and I started drawing plans and building paper models. Okay, so this is my paper model. It's pretty crude, isn't it? Um, yeah. So that was 1997. And yeah, so then here are some of the key design elements. Okay, so first of all, the house needed to be oriented properly. Okay, and properly means it needs to have a broad side facing south. And most of the windows would be concentrated on that side of the house. It needed to have some sort of seasonal shading, okay, overhangs. We really wanted to include a sun space, okay? And a sun space, I'll tell you more about this. It's a special type of sunroom. And also we wanted it to be well insulated. And we built this house in 1998, okay? And so at that time, um, photovoltaics were not really practical. The technology was not really mature. But I wanted to be ready for it. And so I designed the roof pitch so that the south-facing roof would be absolutely perfect for photovoltaics. Okay. And I even went so far as to put conduit in the wall running from the attic down to the basement in anticipation of one day being able to have solar panels. Another feature that we decided to include was what's called a high mass fireplace. All right. And so we have this 6,000-pound fireplace in the middle of our house. And I'll show you some pictures of that. And we'll talk more about that later. And another thing I did is what's called optimal value engineering. And it's a way of minimizing waste. Okay. So this house, every room, every dimension in this house is a multiple of 4 feet. Okay. There are no 13-foot wide rooms. All right. There are 16-foot wide rooms. All right. And the reason for that is because building materials come in 2-foot increments. You buy 8-foot 2x4s, 4x8 sheets of plywood. And if you design the house in 4-foot increments, you can minimize waste and labor. And that adds up. So you get more house for your money. Okay. Oh, so this is me being obsessive. This is a page of my house plans. All right. So this is the south-facing side of our house. And I did framing plans. Okay. And the framing plans show where every stud goes. I did not need to do this, but like I said, I'm a little obsessive, so I did that. And this is the house. Okay, so this was the house, and this is the house. This is 15 years after it was built. Okay, this is about 2015, I believe. So I want to point out some things. Ruth, you were asking about those the overhangs. Okay, so see what I've done here is I have these balconies, and the balconies are exactly 3 feet wide, and they cast a shadow. Okay, Now this photograph was taken in the spring, and so it still allows a certain amount of light to penetrate. You can see that where the shadow falls. So I'm still getting quite a bit of light into the house. But as we approach summer solstice, the shadow will creep down. Okay, it just keeps creeping down until we get to June 21st, at which point the shadow is way down here and we get no sun in the house. Okay, or at least not through the south-facing windows. Whoops. So let's see. So this section of the house, this middle section here, is a 2.5-story tall sunroom. Okay, it's called a sun space. Technically, that's what it's called. It's a sun space. And I'll show you more about that later. And then we have a little greenhouse. Okay, so we have a little greenhouse here where I like to grow things. And let's see what else. Then, oh yeah. So initially, we did not have solar panels on the roof. Okay, so we didn't get solar panels until 15 years after the house was built. So in 2015, we decided, okay, it's time, and we had the solar panels installed. And I'll never forget it. The solar rep came out to look at the house, and we walked to the back of the house, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this house is perfect. We never get a perfect house because usually somebody will call them up and the house will face, the roof pitch will face west and there'll be trees that they have to contend with. But this house was absolutely perfect." Okay. So that it kind of blew his mind. And that was kind of fun, actually. So are there any questions so far? Okay. So now this is more about overhangs. Okay. So this is looking at the side of our house, or at least one story of our house in profile. Okay. So it's like you're standing on the east side of the house looking west. All right. And so this way is south. All right. And so these lines show you how this overhang is casting a shadow. Um, so this line over here, the 12 line, this is winter solstice. So on winter solstice, we get 11 feet of penetration. So the sun is penetrating into our house by 11 feet. And then as the year goes on, so you see this one here, that one is January. All right. So this is January 21st. This is how far the sun penetrates in January. Okay. And then the 2 is February. All right. So this is how far it comes in February, March, April. We can tell what time of year it is by where our cats sleep. Okay. So in December, they can sleep way out here if they want to. They can sleep anywhere. But as summer approaches, they get less and less sunshine to snooze in. So yeah, so the 6 here is June. All right. So this is summer solstice. This line right here is summer solstice. All right. And then as we pass summer solstice, this is July, and then August, and September, October, November, and then December again. So that's, this really shows how a passive solar home works over the course of the year. Does this make sense? Okay, so I can't hear anybody.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, so this is our sunroom. All right, so this is so we have a number of very high windows, and I'm looking down into the sunroom from above. All right, and so these windows on the left here are the big south-facing windows. This is how we collect this is where we're getting most of our solar gain. Now, you see the walls here? The walls are made of solid concrete block. All right. This is thermal mass. All right. We have about 31,000 pounds of concrete blocks in this room, all right? And so the sun comes streaming in, and this absorbs that heat, all right? And then at night, when the sun goes down, it releases the heat, all right? So it kind of evens everything out. So if this room did not have thermal mass, it would get up to 100 degrees every day, and it would drive us out of our house. Okay, but because it has all this thermal mass, it only gets up to maybe 80 degrees, which is really nice in the middle of December. Okay, and so, oops, I'm sorry about that. So if 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 it's a cold winter day, what we do is we open the doors and windows into this space. Okay, this is an interior room, but it's only heated by the sun. So if the room is warm and we want that warmth, we'll open up this door down here, and then we open up the windows at the top, and it sets up a convection loop. All right, and that's what I'm showing on this side. Okay, so the sun shines in and the warm air rises. Well, technically, what's happening is the cold air sinks and it displaces the less dense, warmer air. So the cool air is pushing the warm air up. And then we open these windows and the warm air wafts into the main house. And then it cools. And as it cools, it drops and it finds its way back down into our basement and then back into the sun space. And so it sets up this completely passive convection loop. All right. Does that make sense? So this profile here really shows how our house works from a passive solar point of view. This one picture really captures how it works. Sun shines in, it warms up this thermal mass in here. The warm air rises into the main house, and as it cools, it sinks, and then it just circulates. So that's how it works. Okay. Oh yeah. So when I designed the house, I did a couple things. So I took some of my plans and I ran it through AI. And so this is a little quirky, but it will get the point across. Okay. So now notice this is our second floor. All right. So notice the bedrooms here are on the bottom. Okay. The bottom is the south. Okay. So if you look down, when you look down, you're looking south. All right. So the sun penetrates directly into these bedrooms. All right. This is called direct gain. And so I had to figure out the right amount of window so that the room would get warm, but it wouldn't overheat because there's not a lot of thermal mass in the bedroom. Okay. So I had to do that math. So another thing I did is I put the bathroom and the closets on the north side of the bedrooms. Okay. And so what that does is it insulates us from the north. The cold winds tend to come from the north, and having a buffer is a nice thing. And also our street, we live on a cul-de-sac, but still the street is on the north side of the house. And so these rooms just give us a little bit of a buffer. So I just thought I'd mention that. Then we have an office over here. And one thing I did, so the office has insufficient glazing to heat it through solar. And so what I did is I put a fan in, a duct fan. Okay, so what it does, the bedrooms get nice and toasty in the winter, in December. And so I have a fan here that pulls air through a duct and deposits it into the office. So that's how I heat the office almost passively. It's just a fan. Okay. Oh, so this is our high mass fireplace. Okay. So this fireplace weighs 6,000 pounds. This is where we make the pizza, which is the most important thing, of course. Okay. Wait a second. Okay. So this is a soapstone fireplace. So we have heat pumps, all right? So if you're wondering, does Geo have heat pumps? Yes, we absolutely have heat pumps, and we heat and we cool with those heat pumps. We also circulate air using the air handlers. But I really, really like the idea of not being completely at the mercy of the power company and losing heat um, or electricity when the power goes out, which it does. Our power goes out surprisingly often. So, so this fireplace allows us to heat the core of the house at least very efficiently. And so the way this fireplace works, this is a freestand. It's not technically a fireplace. It's called a masonry heater. I mean, that's its technical name. And the way it works is I make a fire in the firebox. This is the main firebox. I'll make a fire in the firebox, blazingly hot fire for maybe 4 hours. And then I let the fire go out and I close up the chimney. And this 6,000 pounds. So now at the end of that, I have 6,000 pounds of very warm rock in the middle of our house. And it just radiates heat. It will radiate heat for 24 hours. Okay. So, so that's how that works. And I have to tell you, we just love this fireplace. You know, most fireplaces are not efficient. They basically suck the warm air out of your house and blow it up your chimney. So, but this type of fireplace actually works. I mean, we can actually heat most of our house with this fireplace. So, yeah, they say you may have heard firewood heats you 3 times, you know, once when you cut it, once when you split it, and once when you burn it. And so I cut my own firewood and it's a pain in the ass, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So I have a drone. Of course, I have a drone. And so this is a picture of our house from above, taken, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, I think. And so you can see my solar panels. My solar panels are here, here, and here. And oh yeah, so what I wanted to show you here is the design goes beyond just the house. Okay. So do you see these trees that go all around the house? Now this is like January, all right, but you can see the trees are fully leafed out, all right, and they're leafed out because they're hollies. Wait, sorry, they're holly trees. And so I planted these just after we built the house. They came in 3-gallon pots. Okay. And now they're like, I don't know, between 30 and 40 feet tall. They're enormous. We call them the Great Wall of Hollies. And what they do is they form a windbreak. Okay. So to the left is north. Okay. So north is basically to our left. And so they just serve as a windbreak. I mean, they're almost as tall as the peak of the roof of the house. And so the wind comes across the neighborhood and it runs into our hollies and it basically gets diverted away from our house. And so that helps to keep our house a little bit warmer. It also gives us some privacy. And but my favorite thing is the birds. The birds flock to these hollies in winter. Every winter night, we have hundreds and hundreds of robins and white-throated sparrows that descend from the sky and land in our hollies, and they roost there overnight. And it's just magical. It really is. Oh, so this is an observatory. I have a little observatory. I like astronomy, so I have a little observatory out back. Oh yeah, so this is kind of fun. Uh, so this is the paper model that I built in 1998. Okay, I'm sorry if it looks really primitive, but I only had the most primitive tools available to me. Okay, so this is built out of paper and some foam core and some matchsticks. Okay, and so this is my house. Okay, so I went from this paper model in 1998 to this, okay, which is the real thing. Okay. So I thought it would be fun to see that. So there are some things that were afterthoughts. All right. So if you look here, I have a little greenhouse here. So there's no greenhouse here. I didn't, it was an afterthought. So it's not in my original design. And then we built an addition in 2010. We built a little addition. And yeah, so let's see. So let's talk about energy usage. Okay. So this is from Duke Power, Duke Energy Progress. And so this is from June 8th to like June 25th. And so the yellow line is an average house. Okay, so this is just an average house. All right. This is the energy usage of an average house. All right. The green line is an efficient house. Okay, so a well-insulated house with Energy Star appliances, that's what the green line is. All right. And the blue line is us. Okay, so this is the blue line. And so my goal is to always be below the green line. Okay, and I'm not always below it, but I am usually below it. And so the thing about this is our house is big. Okay, so this is not quite accurate because our house is bigger than the average house. And so if you took that into consideration, I think it would be almost completely below the green line. So yeah, so this is our electric bill from last month. It was $22. And whoops, let's see here. Oh, is it cut off? So there's one thing I wanted to show you, but I can't tell if it's here. Oh, I know why. It's because I'm covering it up with my thing. Okay, all right, here we are. Can you see this minus $92 over here? All right. So I want to tell you what that is, okay? So it's always nice to have minus $92 on your electric bill. All right. So what that is that has to do with my battery. Okay, so Duke Energy Progress has this program. They call it their Energy Wise Home Battery Program. Excuse me. And basically, what it is if we agree to allow Duke Power to use the power from our battery occasionally, then they'll pay us $92 a month. All right. And the reason they're willing to do that is because if not for this, they would have to build what's called a peaker plant. Okay. And a peaker plant is a natural gas power plant that might only be used 20 days per year. Okay. They're extremely expensive to operate, but they have to have them because occasionally there are these critical power days. Okay. Where it's 105 degrees and everybody is running their air conditioner full blast and there's just not enough power. So normally what they'd have to do is boot up their peaker plants. So this program that I'm involved in is it's a virtual peaker plant program. All right. And so instead of relying on a peaker plant, I've agreed to allow them to suck power off of my whole house batteries in exchange for $92 a month. Okay. And it's not really a problem. So there are certain limits on it. So they can do it up to 36 times a year. And usually it only lasts from 1 to 3 hours. And so they're not going to drain my battery to any more than 20%. They're not going to suck it dry. So yeah, so it's a good program. It's a good program and it helps to reduce our electric bills.
So, Gio, can you go back to the one before that? But your previous amount was 165. So why was it so Hey,
Yes.
and and
Okay, I'm busted. Okay, so what happened? This is an excellent question, Ruth. I'm glad you pointed this out. So, I hate to admit this, but we had a problem with our solar panels. Our solar panels failed. Okay, so we bought these solar panels, LG solar panels. They were supposed to be really good. They were supposed to last 25 years. We bought them in 2015. Okay, guess what? 10 years later, they were all failing. All right, and so we had to replace our solar panels. All right, and it was expensive. All right, but fortunately, we're being reimbursed for some of that. But what happened was there was a period of months where we couldn't use our solar panels and we weren't using our battery. Okay. So what you're seeing there, that $165 is the way it was when when we didn't have our solar panels working and we didn't have our batteries on. Okay. So that's what that is. All
so,
right.
so just in general, like what would your average electric bill be if they don't buy back? If
Oh,
you
okay.
don't tap into your bills, into your batteries.
So I'm not sure I completely understand. Okay, so are you saying if that $92 program wasn't in effect, something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
It would be pretty low. Okay, so so what this graph that you see here and these numbers that you're seeing here are only let's see, it's only like 2 weeks. Okay, when we actually had our equipment operational. All right, so my expectation is that we will have a zero electric bill. So if that um, energy wise program went away, I think we would still have a very low electric bill. Okay, so when we first had our solar panels installed, we would have $9 electric bills, and we didn't have a battery. Okay, so now we have even a bigger, we have an 18 kilowatt array of solar panels on our roof right now. Okay. And, uh, and we have two whole house batteries. And so as long as we're smart about things, we will have a very low electric bill. Even if Duke Power were to eliminate that program, it would still be very low.
Okay.
So we've learned uh, to be smart about when we charge our EV. Okay, so I drive a Hyundai Ioniq 5. It's a wonderful EV. I love it. But it sucks up a lot of power when you charge it. All right. And so what I've learned to do is I only charge it between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. on a sunny day. All right. Because during that period of time, I know that I'm producing a surplus of power. Okay. If I was to do it, oh, so there's this thing called time of use. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but Duke Power charges different amounts at different times of day. Okay. And
Yeah.
this is called time of use. The most expensive time to use power is between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Okay. And so during the night and I think early in the morning, it's a fraction of the cost. It's like half as much. Okay. So yeah, so our first choice is always to run our big appliances and charge our EV close to solar noon. Okay, on a sunny day. All right. And that way we're using our own power. So we do sell power back to Duke Power. It's called net metering, but they don't pay us what it's worth. All right. So it's much better for us to use it ourselves if we possibly can.
So you're actually saving more money from probably the solar panels than from the passive solar.
Oh, uh, so what I would say, Ruth, is it's easier to measure that. Okay.
Okay.
So the passive aspects of our house absolutely save us energy. Okay. So one thing I forgot to mention is We have 2x6 walls. Okay. So an average house has walls built of 2x4s. All right. Our walls are 5.5 inches. The studs are 5.5 inches thick. And so we can fit 50% more insulation in the walls. Okay. And we went with blown in insulation. So the house is extremely well insulated. And then with our sunroom, I I can't even quantify how much money that saves us because we're just not running our heat pumps like we would. Okay. Um, I would say it's probably about even. I would say it's our house is big, Ruth. If we didn't have, if it wasn't passive solar and we didn't have solar panels, it would cost us, I would guess like $550, $600 a month in electric bills. Okay. So for us, it absolutely makes a difference.
Well, I would think for your sunroom though, in the summer though, doesn't that hurt you?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I'm so glad you're asking these questions. Okay, so let me back up for a minute and show you our sunroom. Uh,
I
okay,
mean, all of this is very interesting and
yeah. So, oops, I keep pressing the wrong button. All right, so the sunroom roof has a roof overhang that's 3 feet wide. Okay, if you saw my roof overhangs, you'd say, wow, that's a wide roof overhang. I mean, it doesn't look ridiculous, but it's wide. Okay, it's 3 feet wide. All right. So it all comes back to where the sun is in the sky. Okay, so in the summer, Ruth, we don't get sun in our sunroom. All right. So what we do in the summer is we open up the windows to the outdoors. All right. And so it just gets natural air circulation. The temperature in the sunroom would be the same as it would be in the shade outdoors. Okay. So right now in our sunroom, it's no warmer than it would be outdoors under a big oak tree. Okay.
well,
Um,
we've been getting some days of 102 in the shade. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true. No, so it doesn't really affect us because this can be completely sealed off from the rest of the house. All right. These are exterior grade windows. All right. These are exterior grade doors. It's not a problem. We just keep the interior doors and windows closed to the sunroom and open up the windows to the exterior.
okay, okay.
And it never overheats our house. So I'll tell you when it can be a problem though. It can be a problem between mid-September and mid-October. All right. And the reason why is because the sun is lower in the sky. All right. And it can still be pretty warm. We will have warm days in mid-September or even early October. All right. And so if there's a warm, sunny day in that at that time of year, our sunroom will get warm. But because of the thermal mass, it never really overheats. It's not like, okay, so if you park your car in a Walmart parking lot in the middle of July, it's going to be like, I don't know, 140 degrees in that car, okay? And part of the reason why is because the car has no thermal mass, okay? This room has 31,000 pounds of concrete in it. All right. So that has a mitigating effect on the temperature of the room. So this cools down at night. So that's another thing that's happening. Okay. So at night, remember, it gets down to what, 70 degrees outside. So this sunroom will cool down. It might get down to maybe 78 degrees, something like that. And that helps it to stay cool during the day.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's wonderful, Ruth. I would not trade our sun space for anything. It just works so well. Oh, so another thing that I should mention is we have honeycomb blinds on our south-facing windows, okay, which we always use. All right. So in the wintertime, if we want sun, we'll raise the blinds and we get full sun through our windows. Um, in the summer, we might leave our blinds drawn, okay, because we don't want any heat. Even though the windows are shaded, they still have a lower R value than a wall. And so by using honeycomb blinds, it cuts down on the amount of heat gain that we get. Any other questions?
Yes, I understand that um, solar panels need to be replaced eventually. What is the lifespan of a solar panel, and what brand do you think is best?
Yeah. Okay, you're asking the right person because I have some experience with this. So, okay, so in 2015, there's leading edge and there's what they call bleeding edge. Okay. And bleeding edge is when you invest too early. And I think I may have done that in 2015. I got LG solar panels, and
Yeah.
they supposedly had a lifespan of at least 20 years. So I was told at 20 years they would be producing 80% of the power that they were on day one. Okay.
Mm,
That turned out not to be the case, and they failed at 10 years. So we're getting reimbursed. We're getting reimbursed for them. It's not a full reimbursement, but it's considerable. Um, so we bought new solar panels, and this time we bought from a company called SEG, and again, they're supposed to last 20 years. So let's set up an appointment for 20 years from now, and I'll tell you how it worked out. But I am optimistic. Okay. I think the technology has advanced to the point where they're much more reliable than they were. So I'm
yeah, but
optimistic.
I don't think most people know that you have to replace them eventually anyway. They think you buy them once and you got them.
Yeah. No, they have a lifetime, and that lifetime should be about 20 years. Yeah.
Right.
But
Okay.
here's the thing. Solar panels are getting cheaper and cheaper all the time. It's amazing how cheap they have become. And they're continuing to become cheaper. All right. Because we're getting the economies of scale working for us now. So with everything that's going on in the world, so I heard somebody say that Donald Trump has done more to advance alternative energy than anyone else in the past 100 years. And I think it's probably true because invading Iran and shutting down the Strait of Hormuz has really gotten people's attention. People are starting to wake up and say, maybe we should get an EV because
Yeah.
these, this gas and diesel is costing us so much. So,
The other thing is that Europe seems to be way ahead of us in
yeah.
accepting the solar panels on the roofs. I very recently, like last month, drove from took the train from uh, Amsterdam to Berlin for the
Uh-huh.
AGA, and
Uh-huh.
just every house practically had solar panels on it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And China is even more pro solar. China is amazing. So, yeah. Well, we have very regressive policies right now in the United States. And I don't know. But the bottom line is this: it is becoming increasingly difficult for conventional sources of energy to compete with solar, wind, and battery. Okay. So over the long term, just the basic economics of this is going to dominate. All right. Solar panels are getting cheaper and cheaper. Batteries are getting cheaper and cheaper. All right.
Yeah,
Nuclear is
but that
getting more expensive. Coal is flat. Um, gas, I don't know. Gas is not that competitive with solar plus battery at this point. Um, yeah, I think long term, I mean, in 10 years, you may remember this presentation and think, you know, we thought this was unusual in 2026, in 2036, this is not going to be unusual. So passive solar design might be, okay? Um, So the thing about passive solar design, see, your average builder doesn't care about the buyer's electric bills. Okay. They only care about selling the house. All right. So they design pretty houses and they orient them facing the street. Okay. They don't pay attention to the points of the compass or where the sun is. And so, I wish things were different. I wish builders would be more conscious of how to actually design a building so it works for the owner over the long term.
There's another problem too, and that is our HOA will not allow solar panels on the roof.
Uh-huh. Yep. I've heard about that.
Yeah, actually, we have members that have solar panels, but their HOA made them put them on the back side of the house instead of the front side of the house.
Oh,
Uh,
yuck.
They don't get the sun like they should.
uh, yeah, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is. So, they are starting to build roofing materials that have built-in photovoltaics. All
Yes,
right.
I've seen them. Like they look like those Spanish bed
Yes.
tiles.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very
Y-
interesting. Very interesting technology.
Yes,
I
and
think we'll see
I'm
more and
wondering if
more of that.
maybe the HOA would allow that.
Uh, so let's see, where else am I? So are there any other questions? Oh, so you can see more pictures of our solar house uh, if you follow the link that Ruth sent you. Um, yeah. Oh, so yeah. So this is the front of our house, and so notice from here over, there aren't a lot of north. This is the north side of the house. So it's mostly roof. We have some north facing skylights. South facing skylights are bad because you can't shade them. All right. So all of our skylights face north. This structure over here with all these north facing windows is my painting studio. So I'm an oil painter. And so this is my studio, and artists prefer north light because it's this beautiful, it's even, it doesn't change through the course of the day. It has kind of a blue cast to it. So yeah, so this is my studio. So these windows face north for a reason. All right. Um, let's see. So key points. So as we move forward, if you have solar access, solar plus battery is worth considering. All right. Um, I know not everyone is who has Duke Energy, but my understanding is many power companies have these virtual peaker plant programs, incentives that you can take advantage of. Um, Passive solar makes sense if you're building from scratch. All right. So if you're building from the ground up, you should definitely consider passive. So, uh, so that's my presentation. Any other questions?
Just thank you. That was really
Oh,
informative.
oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes, I
So,
enjoyed it too.
oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Mark. Yeah. So it's been an interesting experience, it's funny. I just find this book in my high school library and sort of became obsessed with it. And then seeing how it played out over the course of my life. Um, yeah, I think my favorite my favorite slide in that whole slide deck is that little shabby paper model next to the real thing.
But the
I
real
love that
looks
slide.
pretty close to the model, honestly.
It
Yes.
does.
But,
It really
okay,
does. So I
so
was just flying my drone. I was flying my drone and I thought, oh, I'll take a picture of the house. And I thought, I've seen this before. I said, this looks like my paper model. And so, yeah, I had to include it.
so I have another question. So you had the
Mm.
advantage of actually building your house
Yes.
based on the how you wanted it with the solar. So what are the biggest suggestions you would make for somebody like on an existing house?
Yeah. So that's a challenge. Well, I would always start with air sealing because if you're losing air through windows and doors, that's that's going to cost you money. Okay. And then windows. All right. So you want to make sure you have good windows, and you want to make low E windows, and you want to make sure that your house is well insulated and that it's air sealed properly. Okay. So that you're not losing air. Um, there are companies that will come out and they will do what's called a blower door test. So um, they'll put a fan in your door and it completely seals your door. All right. And so they have a fan and they'll suck the air out of your house and they measure the amount of resistance. Okay. So ideally, they wouldn't be able to suck any air.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's not the way houses actually work. Okay. All houses are leaky and you want a little bit. You want a little bit of controlled airflow into your house. But if your house is leaky, you're leaking money. Okay. And so what they'll do is they'll go around and they'll find out where your house is leaking. They'll find that window that's not tight anymore. They'll find out that your door seals aren't sealed the way they should be. They might find that if you have a basement where the sill meets the top of the basement wall, they might find air is sneaking in there. Okay. And they'll seal all that. And then your home will be more energy efficient. So another thing is you should think about which way is south. Okay. You want to know which way is south. All right. And if you have south facing windows, maybe you can take advantage of those somehow. All right. Um, maybe you have trees blocking your south-facing windows. Maybe you could have some limbs removed. Maybe that would help. So for an existing home, it's challenging. Uh, but those are some of my suggestions.
Well, I was gonna say I had Duke Energy come out to this house last year,
Uh,
and they have like a thermo scanner, I guess.
oh, yes.
And,
Yes.
and he went all around, and the only place he found any leakage was a little bit above our front door.
Uh,
And he even checked, like the attic doors and
uh,
all. So we
uh,
were good there. But it's funny, at this house, we have no south-facing windows.
oh, yeah.
The
Yep.
garage is the south-facing part.
Right.
So,
Right.
but at our house in Florida, same thing. The only south-facing windows we have are two-bedroom windows,
Uh-huh.
and that's it. And most of our windows are east-facing. Because I was always
Yeah.
taught you build, you want your bedroom to face the east for the rising sun. So,
Uh-huh.
I mean, we didn't build that house, but
Right.
so for you to say that most windows about the windows being on the south, to me, that's kind of new to me.
Hmm. So it's okay. The fundamental problem with east and west facing windows is they tend to gain too much heat in the summertime and they tend to lose heat in the wintertime. So if you kind of think of it in terms of a balance sheet, which windows, depending on where they are, cost you money. They cost you more or less money. Okay. So east and west facing windows cost you money because you tend to gain heat through them because in the summer. So in winter, the here in Raleigh anyway, the sun rises. Um, I don't know, in the southeast. Okay, and as the course of the year passes, it rises further and further north. So during summer, the east and west sides of the house get blasted with sun. And if you don't have a way of shading your east and west facing windows, it can be a problem.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Any other questions? So, one thing I just wanted to mention since we have people from all over. So, uh, our solar house was designed specifically for Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay. So all the calculations about glass and thermal mass and roof pitches and overhangs and all that stuff is specific to our latitude. All right. So if you're building a house north or south of here, your design requirements would be different.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you were building a passive solar house in Florida, you would probably have much more minimal. You wouldn't need so many windows facing south because you're so much further south. Excuse me. All right. Any other questions I can answer?
Thank you so much for presenting that today. I found it very interesting.
Great. Well, it was a lot of fun.
And I'm going to stop the recording now.